We've got a very special guest in today, DJ BIZNIZZ himself, and the interview is probably the best.
Probably, definitely one of the best interviews that we've done.
Education, man. So, thank you for coming in.
It's a pleasure. I'm in the shed, man. Never been in the shed before.
He's in the shed. He's travelled a long way as well to get here. I have to say, I feel pretty bad that you actually spent all that time on the tube. But anyway, but yeah, we have got Billy BIZNIZZ in the shed, and starting off with probably one of his first productions.
My very first production.
Yeah. So when was it? So when was this? Yeah.
No. 85. Rodney P.
Jeez. God. And he's older than us. He looks about 22. Jesus Christ. But yeah, wicked track. I remember buying this in our price when it first came out.
Our price.
Our price, yeah.
No, our price no more, folks.
No, no.
Gone.
Rest in peace. But yeah, I remember buying this in our price and absolutely loving it. So to actually have Mr. BIZNIZZ in the shed is an absolute honour. But we've got two more of his tracks that he actually had production credits and scratches on and stuff like that. So we're going to play a few of those, then get to the interview, and then we've got 3 breaks. There we go. No theme this week.
No theme this week.
No theme, that's right.
Sorry, folks.
That's alright. You're worth it. Don't know why I scratched it in when we got BIZNIZZ here to do it, but yeah, this was the second London Posse track, which also you were involved in.
Yeah, a little co-production on there, bass line, you know, some cuts and stuff. A classic, man.
Yeah, classic track.
Everybody loves it.
This was massive, massive when it came out. It was so, so good. I think I've actually put the instrumental on by mistake. But there you go.
The instrumental's alright. I might do a little rap myself, man.
Yeah, he didn't MC on it anyway.
We could do the shed rap. You
know?
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. Or if we had a bit more room, we could have done some of his b-boy style as well. But he'd probably kick us in the head or something. But yeah, wicked track. I loved this when it actually first came out. Again, sort of like, you know, late 80s style, really putting the UK on the map. So,
money mad, people. Exactly. And people are still money mad, you know what I mean? We've been in this recession, we're money mad.
Even worse now.
Bloody council tax.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So I'm money mad.
That's it. Yeah, God. Don't remind us. Yeah, so from this we're going to go to one of my favourite tracks, and probably the only track that we're going to be playing twice on this show, because I think we played it about 30 shows ago, because I loved it so much.
It's that good.
It's that good. We're going to be playing it again. So here we go.
Yeah, we've played this before, but as you said, it's that good.
Yeah, totally wicked. So was this you and Pogo?
Me and Pogo done this, man. The Humpty Dump was one of our all-time favourite breaks. We were just like, we've got to do something with it, man. And Mello just had that style that would sit in there.
It's so good, because up to that point he hadn't really been doing that many fast raps, and he just sits so well over it, you know what I mean?
He was like, oh, we've got to do something with this, man. So,
that's right.
Yeah, this is the first me and Pogo together production, man.
It's a killer, I have to say. Probably one of my favourite old school UK hip hop jams. Totally good. Incredible lyrics, wicked drum break, amazing skills. You know what I mean? What more could you want? Yeah.
You can't ask for anything more than that.
You can't. You really can't.
Pogo's doing well out in Brazil.
Oh, Pogo's doing more than well out in Brazil, man. You know what I mean? He's enjoying himself in the sunshine, but we have got some sunshine of our own.
That is right.
At this moment, so
Pogo, you're missing out at the moment.
Yeah, you're missing out, son. You know what I mean?
And you're not in the shed.
And you're not in the shed.
Come on.
We are here in the shed, mate. You're missing out.
That's right, yeah. How many sheds to get in Brazil?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So there you go. But yeah, cracking track. Blows me away every time. But now I think it's time to go to an incredible interview with this man here. So here we go. Alright, so welcome Mr. BIZNIZZ. Glad to finally have you in the shed. We've been sort of texting each other for a little while now, so it's nice to actually sort of sit you down and get to ask you some questions. And what I tend to usually ask is, how did you get into it, and when was that?
Well, music is something that I've always been into. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm from a African background. Ever since I was young, my mum, my sisters, my whole family would go to like these parties. You know what I mean? Africans love to party.
Yeah.
So every weekend, my mum would take me, you know what I mean, to parties, and in these African parties the kids were always like a showpiece. You put them together in a circle and the kids always get together and start dancing, and then the adults start dancing with the kids type of thing. So music has always been in my family ever since I was young. It's something that I've always been used to. when you're talking about buying records and sort of getting into different genres of music, it was my sisters that sort of got me into that. My sisters were into like soul and reggae.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So a lot of the artists that are associated with those type of music, you know what I mean, the Gregory Isaacs,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, the Bob Marleys, the Princes, the Parliaments, you know what I mean, and all those.
So the big boys in the 70s.
Those are my sisters got me into those type of groups because my two older sisters would be buying those type of records, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
and then they'd be playing them in the house. Obviously, my mum had a big, back in those days, a big gram, as you call it, you know what I mean. So my sisters, when my mum and that would go out, would just be like putting on records and dancing. So we'd be all be in the front room getting down together, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So that's what really, for me, was my first experience of like being into music. Hip hop music obviously started for me when I saw things like Jeffrey Daniels and all that, you know what I mean?
From Shalimar.
From Shalimar, because that was my first experience of, obviously he was dancing to soul music, but it was getting into the dance that got me into the thing of being into hip hop.
Right, okay.
You know what I mean? Because before any of the music stuff that I do, I was first originally a b-boy.
Right, okay.
And it was Jeffrey Daniels that got me into the whole dance aspect of hip hop.
So that would make you a pretty early b-boy in UK terms.
Well, yeah, I'm first generation, you know what I mean? I was one of the first people from this country that would congregate in Covent Garden.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's how I met a lot of the people that got me into music. You know what I mean? Into hip hop music, because of meeting them at Covent Garden. So originally I was a break dancer and a popper. Back in those days we'd call them body poppers, but the term is just popping.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So those dances are what got me into hip hop, because when I saw Jeffrey doing what he was doing, I was like, I need to know what that is. I need to be able to do those movements. You know what I mean? They were ridiculous. And someone I know said, "Oh, I've seen guys doing that in Covent Garden."
Right.
So immediately I went straight down to Covent Garden, and
what sort of year was this?
that was like end of 81, beginning of 82.
So we're talking
First generation of hip hop in this country.
Because
You know
I
what
mean, 82 is
was,
talked about as being almost like the birth sort of time for hip hop in this country, when everything came over from the States first time round.
And really, the birth of hip hop in this country was through the dance.
Yeah.
It was through the dance. It wasn't the musical aspects. It was the dance that really birthed hip hop in this country.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And that was my first introduction to what hip hop was. You know what I mean?
So who were some of the people who were at Covent Garden at the time?
You know what? In Covent Garden, in that very first early generation, was no one that anyone would most probably remember.
Which is usually the way, isn't it? Because pioneers never get the credit.
Thing is, these people were pioneers. They were the first generation of hip hop culture in the UK, and a lot of people wouldn't remember them. You know what I mean? There was like a crew called Sidewalk back in those days. You know what I mean? There was a guy called Poppin' Nicholas.
Right.
You know what I mean? There was a crew called Micron.
Yeah, I think they did
they did
EastEnders.
Yeah, they did EastEnders. And a TV documentary. There was that crew Micron. So there's a beatbox called Yankee. But those times he wasn't. He was beatboxing, but wasn't really beatboxing.
Sure.
Like, you know what I mean? The way it was. So all of these guys were some of the first guys that I met in Covent Garden.
I mean, it must have been exciting, because obviously you were at the birth of something that was really new. I mean, obviously people talk about the Bronx and stuff in '76 or whatever, but in the UK this is something that was really, really new. To sort of be right at the forefront of it, must have been, you must have felt something was going on.
For me, it must be one of the most amazing times in my life, you know what I mean? Because you're helping to create a whole culture in your country without even realising what you're doing.
Yeah.
All you're doing personally is having fun. You're enjoying the experience of learning about this new, you know what I mean, this new dance style, this new music style, but you're not realising that you're part of the group that's building that culture as being the first generation in your country, you know what I mean? So it was, for me, it was just an amazing time. It was just fun continuously.
And when did it start sort of like branching out of Covent Garden into other aspects, if you know what I mean? I mean, were there any sort of, some of the early club nights possibly, you know? I mean, I know some of the sort of like soul nights may have had the odd sort of hip-hop track that I think would have infiltrated. A
lot of the soul nights were the ones where we'd go to more, because we would go to places like the Lyceum, you know what I mean, or they'd have these all-dayers, you know, and a lot of the younger kids, I was one of the older kids.
Right.
So a lot of the young kids who'd come.
I'm not going to ask your age, don't worry, mate.
I'm as young as I look. So
yeah, for you, but bloody younger than me.
a lot of the younger kids couldn't get into those clubs.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there was only a handful of people like myself, the guys from Sidewalk and Micron, who are of the older generation.
Yeah.
We could get into the club, so we'd go to those all-dayers there. We'd go to Electric Ballroom and places like that. You know what I mean? A lot of them other guys couldn't go to those places, and a lot of places we'd go to would be jazz clubs as well.
Yeah, well, I suppose there's a
I mean?
similarity between the dance as well, which was heavy at the time with what was going on with the early...
hip hop scene paralleled each other for many years. You know what I mean?
I think a lot of scenes were all the way through the 80s almost, weren't they?
If you go from the 80s to the 90s in the UK, the hip hop scene, the funk scene, the boogie scene, the jazz scene,
even the early house scene,
they all went together, because the dancers would go to whichever club was on. It didn't matter what the genre of music was, they all crossed each other at some point, you know what I mean? So for us it was very important, and I think musically it taught the DJs in this country, you know what I mean, something special, because I think in a lot of countries, DJs would stay within their genre, within the lane of music that they were used to. But in the UK, we would cross so many genres.
That's
it would
right,
make you look at things differently. So when someone like me got into b-boy breaks, we would look for b-boy breaks on every type of music possible.
Yeah.
We wouldn't stick to like, it's only rock groups. You know what I mean? We'd go to every single type of music you would think of, because of the fact that we were into different types of music because of the dance scene here.
Sure, okay. And so obviously being a b-boy for sort of like many years, where did you take that leap to go from b-boying to the DJing sort of scene? And how did that sort of like start elevating? Was it a natural sort of progression? Yeah,
it was sort of natural, because the DJs and the dancers were sort of like cross-platformed, because of the fact that every club we went to, it was the DJ that was the most important factor.
Yeah.
If they didn't play the right music, you're not going to dance. You know what I mean? So a lot of the dancers were really into DJs. You know what I mean? We were into a lot of DJs, like people like Pogo, Cosmic Jam, Imperial Mixers. You know what I mean? All of these guys, because they were playing out in certain types of clubs, you would follow them. You know what I mean? You'd be like a fan of them. I'm going to this club because I know that when I go there, they're going to play the kind of music.
It's almost like a sound system.
It's like a sound system. Yeah, that's exactly what it was like, because in those days the sound system was the most important factor musically when it came to street music. You know what I mean? And a lot of the sounds we followed were sounds who played in warehouse clubs. Yeah. You know what I mean? Soul to Soul, Shake and Finger Pop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Family Function. You know, all of these guys were the ones who made the scene what it was. So we would follow these guys, and Nutriment, you know what I mean, with his rock box, you know, and a lot of these guys would hire people like Pogo, Cosmic Jam, you know what I mean, Imperial Mixers. They would hire them to play alongside them.
Because they had the skills in sort of scratching and stuff like that.
So they'd hire them to play alongside them. So we would follow all of these DJs, you know what I mean, and go to their events. And because I was so into the DJing and what they used to do and how they used to cut up and cut back and all those things, I'd be like, oh, I really want to learn that. So Imperial Mixers, Cosmic Jam and Pogo were like my main influences.
Right.
You know what I mean? Obviously they were from South London, so I had a lot more connection to them guys, because I was from South. So when they were playing out in South, I would always go. Sometimes if they were out of South London, North or somewhere, I might not go because it's far away, you know what I mean? Yeah, so just
like here
to go there, you know what I mean? So following them and watching them really influenced me. You know what I mean? Because I was like, these guys just play the music that I'm into, you know what I mean? All the different types, the breaks and the way they cut up the music and all that really was interesting for me. So it was like 1985, we used to go to this place called The Centre.
Right.
All right, in Covent Garden.
The Africa Centre?
Nah, no, it was just a centre. It was for like homeless people.
Oh, okay. Right,
and what they used to do, they used to be open 5 days a week.
Right.
So what they would do in the evenings, they'd open at a certain time in the evening, and homeless people would go there, you know, or people who were living on the street, and they'd give them a free meal, you know what I mean, and they'd allow them to watch TV, they had a snooker table, so these people had a little recreational facility they could go to.
Yeah.
Now my crew lived to break, we used to go there, and they'd allow us to practice there.
Right.
And they had like 3 floors, so they'd give us a floor, and we'd go there, and we'd just go there and jam and practice. So this place was really important to us. And we'd go to the centre and we'd meet all these different types of people. The DJs, Cosmic and that used to come there, Pogo would come there, Imperial would come there. We'd go there, we'd have food, and we'd just go out there and jam and practice and learn all these moves.
Yeah.
And because of the centre, we really wanted to like put on an event Because it's like, there's all these hip-hop events being put on by all these other people, but we want to put on a hip-hop event for the people that are into hip-hop, you know what I mean? And we want it to be put together by the people who are into hip-hop, which is obviously us, Imperial Mixers, you know what I mean? Cosmic Jam, Pogo, Chrome Angels, which was like our graffiti crew that we hung with. So we kind of had a meeting with all of us, you know what I mean? And the centre said, look, because we're a charity, we'll help you. So, because we wanted it to be in Covent Garden, because that was like the most important,
Mecca.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It was like the focal point for everyone to come and find real hip-hop in London. We said we wanted to be in Covent Garden, so they was like, okay, we're in Covent Garden, can we hold this place? And Jubilee Hall was like a big, you know what I mean, open free gym that had badminton and all that, but it was a big open, you know what I mean?
I think I remember a Chrome Angels piece. That,
so we went with the people from the centre to Jubilee Hall, and they was like, you know what, can we hire this space to do an event? All right, and we did it through the people from the centre, so they were like, yeah, you can hire the space to do an event. So this event was called like Freestyle 85. It was the first, it was the first real hip hop event by people who were into hip hop.
I've seen some of the clips because there is some bits on YouTube.
So we invited people from all over the UK. So you had crews from Nottingham, Birmingham, you know what I mean, Manchester,
Rock City boys from
Sheffield,
Nottingham,
Edinburgh, you know what I mean? So we had Rock City, we had B-Boys,
Broken Glass,
you know what I mean? We had all the crews come down. We had graffiti artists from all over the country.
It's a pretty it's a legendary.
We had MCs for all over the place, and we was like, because
so you put that on?
Yeah, I was one of the organisers. Me, Pogo, Cosmic Jam, Chrome Angels, Imperial Mixers, all of us together. Right. It was all of us together. We all put our heads together, and through the people from the centre, you know what I mean, they're the ones who helped us so much, because we didn't know nothing about really, you know what I mean, how to do this. So they helped us put everything together, you know what I mean? And because of that event, after that event, I was just like, you know what, this is really what I want to do, you know what I mean? We had live graffiti there, you know what I mean? My crew lived to break done a show. We had OC and a Great Peso from America. Really? Yeah, we brought them over to do this show, you know what I mean?
And they were big at the time.
They was one of the biggest crews at the time. And it was because of Cosmic Jam. He was like, yeah, these guys are bad. If we can get them over, and they were like the highlight of the night. Well, I guess Cosmic's done a show, Imperial Mixers done a show, you know what I mean? We had all the crews, like, you know what I mean? Yeah, and Cut J, all the different crews. We had like people did shut, and they were the headline, you know what I mean? Because
they were actually on one of the electro albums that year as well.
Exactly, that's why we thought,
and they were still a big deal at the time.
Really big, and we got them over, and they did an amazing show, and it was just like, for us, it just blew our minds.
Jeez, it blows my mind just talking about
it. that Freestyle 85 show was what got me set, because after that, what we did was we took all the proceeds and we split them between all of us, you know what I mean? All of us together. So with my share of the proceeds, I said, you know what? I'm getting some turntables. So the next day, me, Cosmic Jam, Pogo, went to Tottenham Court Road.
Where everyone got it.
And I got my first turntables, you know what I mean? Right. And then Pogo gave me a mixer, you know what I mean? Realistic, my first realistic mixer. You know what I mean? Them two came to my house, you know what I mean? We bought all the stuff. They set everything up in my bedroom, and they was like, yeah. Then they got on the turntable because they brought a load of records with them, and they were scratching for hours. And they were like, right. I was like, right. So I get a turn now. You know what I mean? So like, okay. So then they started to show me different, like, right, this is what you got to do. This is how to, you know, how to scratch. This is how to mix. So they're the two that really got me on the road, and that was my first experience of I really want to be a DJ. But it was because of watching them. You know what I mean? And what they did and how they did it that influenced me so much that I said, I don't just want to be a b-boy, I want to be a DJ as well. Yeah. So even when I started DJing in 85, I still b-boyed for maybe another 5 years alongside the DJing. So I was doing the DJing stuff and doing the b-boying as well. Right, okay. Because obviously the b-boying was my first love, you know what I mean? That was my first love of hip-hop.
I mean, so you got your first turntables in 85, and by 87 you're on vinyl. And that's pretty, that's I mean, you know, a couple of years of bedroom mixing and going to clubs. I think
people don't realise, with DJs back in those days, it was like, for us, if we were practising, we'd practice for 8 hours.
Yeah.
Sometimes longer. Sometimes Pogo would come to my house in the morning and he wouldn't leave till near midnight.
Yeah.
We'd be there the entire day.
Yeah.
Just practicing. You're only stopping for toilet breaks and food. That is it.
Yeah. Well,
the time would go, fly so quickly, you wouldn't even realise, you know what I mean? So doing that every single day, I learned so much. And when you've got craftsmen like Pogo and Cosmic Jam, you know what I mean, coming to your house and teaching you, and Cutmaster Swift coming to your house and teaching you stuff, you can only learn
from the best.
You're learning from the best. You can only learn at a fast pace. So I picked up really quickly because of them guys.
Yeah. God, what happened to Cosmic Jam though? Because obviously, I mean, you, Swift and Pogo went on to do loads of stuff in the 80s in regards to being on tracks and representing DMC and stuff like that. What happened to Cosmic Jam?
Yeah, I think when about 80, 86, 87, 88, DJing sort of had a turn. It moved in a sort of different direction. Whereas Cosmic, Imperial Mixers and them guys were just known for like playing at warehouse parties, mixing for b-boys and dancers and stuff like that. Where music shifted and rap became a lot more prevalent. So people, you know, MCs were starting to be the forefront. The DJ wasn't the, you know what I mean? Yeah. So in that mid-80s when MCs started to really get their own, and the focus wasn't the DJ, and everything shifted, and then you had the DMC competition came along and stuff like that. A lot of DJs like Cosmic and Imperial and all that, they didn't really want to be part of those things. They didn't really want to do those contests.
I suppose it's difficult to change something that they were really good at and to roll with the times.
With the times,
which kind of was echoing what was going on in America at the same time.
At the same time, it was. So for them, they were just like, we kind of really want to do what we do, you know what I mean? We don't want to change so much. And that was sort of what pushed them sort of out of the forefront of the picture. You know what I mean? Because other DJs were coming in who wanted to do those things, who wanted to be in a DMC, who wanted to be the DJ behind the MC and not be the forefront and those type of things. So other DJs were coming along and those guys were like slowly, you know what I mean, being pushed to the side. And the whole thing was changing. And the thing was, people like me, Pogo and Swift, we've always moved with the times. You know what I mean? Whatever came along, we was like, well, this is part of our field, you know what I mean? So we shouldn't just say, well, we're good at this, we don't want to learn that. Let's learn everything. No matter what comes along, you know what I mean? It's a new skill. You learn it, you master it, and then it's another string to your bow. Which you boys did very well. And I think it was a lot to do with Pogo. Pogo was the sort of the mastermind behind that. Pogo's a guy that, when something comes out, he doesn't want to be left behind, you know what I mean? Pogo doesn't want to be number 2, he always wants to be number 1. So anything that came out, new equipment, new styles, Pogo's like, we're going to learn that, we're going to get that, we're going to do this, you know what I mean? He was always the one that was encouraging us, let's do it, you know what I mean? He was, I have to say, he was pretty much one of my idols in the late 80s as a young bedroom DJ, you know what I mean, back in 1988, hearing some of his DMC sort of things on, you know, Mike Allen's show and stuff like that, you know what I mean? Blew me away when he was cutting up Mantronic's King of the Beats and stuff like that. But right, so from that, obviously, how did you then sort of like touch base with, say, Westwood and stuff in regards to sort of like getting on record, if you like? Well, when I got into the DJing and I started to, because of people like Swift and Pogo and that, when they did events, because obviously working under them on Cosmic, when they did events, they'd bring me in and they'd be like, right, first 10 minutes of my set or 20 minutes of my set, I'm going to put you on. So that helped me build my craft because you're actually doing it in the place of a real DJ, you know what I mean? You're not doing it in your bedroom no more. You're at the spot, you're in the club now, or you're at the event and you're actually DJing live in front of people. So that sort of helped me to build my craft. And because of them doing that, I was seen here and there by other people who would be like, right, he's good at that, you know what I mean? Because a lot of people only knew me as a b-boy. So when they saw me doing that, they were like, bloody hell, he's almost as good as them guys, you know what I mean? So that really helped me out a lot on my way, you know what I mean, as a DJ. And because of Swifty was the first guy I think that Westwood asked to actually do his show. And Swift couldn't do his show. So Swift was like, you know what? You know what I mean? He was like, nah, take DJ BIZNIZZ, he can do it, you know what I mean? So Westwood said, alright, Swifty's recommendation, I'll take the risk. And when I went on the show, he said, right, I just want you to do like a 20-minute live mix, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? I said, alright. So I picked what records I want to use. Obviously, you can't use no records with no swearing or whatever. You know what I mean? So I picked what records I used. Westwood would have to go through the records, make sure that they were cool. He's like, all right, this is what you're going to use, blah, blah, blah. Make sure it wasn't something you was going to play in the show or whatever.
So was this on GLR? Was it?
No, this is when he first got into Capital.
Oh, right, of course,
when he first started with Capital. Because when he was on GLR and the other stations, that was just Westwood. He didn't really have no mixers.
Right.
You know what I mean? And when he did have mixes, it was because he'd asked someone, oh, do a mix for my show.
Sure.
So maybe he'd have Swift or someone would do a mix and he'd just play it.
Yeah.
When he moved to Capital now, because it was such a major station, he wanted to do live mixes. And that was the difference. He wanted to have that difference. You know what I mean? I don't want to just get a mix and play it. I want to do a live mix. So then I could talk to the DJ who does the mix and ask him about the records in the mix. You know what I mean? Why he chose them and that type of thing.
Yeah.
So after the first mix I did, Westwood was very impressed. He was like, wow, I really like this. You know what I mean? I'm not really that one for like really talking type of thing, because obviously I just learned to DJ.
Sure.
I was just getting my craft going. But Westwood wanted to like always semi-interview me about the mixes. So what happened was the interviews sort of turned into like a section in the show where he'd talk to me about the tracks I'd mix and then talk to me about other aspects of music.
Right.
So it became like an integral part of the show.
Yeah.
It became more than just him asking me about the mixes. You know what I mean? And then what we started to do, we started to have this moment where we'd have all these jokes, crack jokes about certain music and different things in the show. So we ended up having a section which we called the Mac Daddy Show.
Right.
So within the Westwood show, we would have the Mac Daddy Show, which was me. At first, it was just me and Westwood, and then he got MCB,
right,
and another guy called Rollo,
right,
and between us, we'd have conversations about music. So we would sort of review tracks.
right.
You know what I mean? Review maybe shows we'd been to.
It's a bit like the John Peel of the hip hop world.
Of the hip hop world. So between the four of us, we would talk about different things within the hip hop scene.
Yeah.
And we would call it the Mac Daddy Show. So we would have this half-an-hour segment where after the mix, I'd come on, talk about the mix and talk about all different aspects of hip hop. So that became a very important aspect of Westwood show, because it wasn't just about Westwood and the music. It was about the whole hip hop culture, and it was about all of us guys, you know what I mean, together, and what we all thought about the hip-hop scene, you know what I mean, the music, the dancing, you know what I mean, the MCs that were coming out and everything, you know what I mean. So it was really an important part of the show. You know what I mean?
And was this the sort of time that he'd started his Justice label as well?
Yeah, this was just before he started his Justice label.
And also around the same time as the documentary, what was it?
Bad Meaning Good. Bad Meaning Good, yeah. And because obviously his connection with the radio, being on Capital, and me just joining the London Posse just being signed to Big Life, and Big Life were like, all right, we've got these guys that we think are incredibly talented, you know what I mean? What UK hasn't really had a real hip-hop group. This is going to be one of the first major hip-hop groups we put out, you know what I mean, in the UK, and we want to have someone that understands how to market them in the hip-hop world, you know what I mean? So that's how they got their connection with Westwood. Obviously him being a new show, understanding what hip-hop was about, hip-hop culture, hip-hop music, they were like, we can get this guy to produce the record. It would also help the record by him being part of the promotion team, because if he's producing it, he's going to play it on his radio show. So we all sort of helped each other in that regard, you know what I mean? So that's how we sort of got that connection.
Right. Okay, and I think there was only 4 releases on the Justice label, though, weren't there? I think it was only, there was a couple of the London Posse.
Because I think after Big Life was our first thing. Obviously, we was working towards doing a album release, but due to the contractual ties and different things with Big Life weren't doing so well as a label. Westwood came along, was doing well on Capital, decided like he wanted to have a label because he knew more about hip hop than obviously a lot of these other guys on major labels. So he thought, I should put my own label out. You know what I mean? So he started to make a collective of a lot of the guys that he was working with through his radio show. You know what I mean? Being London Posse being one. You know what I mean? MCB being another. You know what I mean? So he made, through these connections, he was like, right, I'm gonna put all these things on my label. Brian Chuck knew worked at Jive Records. You know what I mean? So him and Westwood were very close friends. So they said, yeah. So the label was owned by Brian Chuck New, who was obviously one of the music guys from Jive Records. He knew all, you know what I mean? He worked, he was an engineer there. He knew all the equipment there, you know what I mean? So between him and Westwood, you know what I mean, they said, right, we'll put our own label. They named it Justice. He signed London Posse, you know what I mean? He signed Trouble.
Trouble, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
And I think General Levy was the other one,
and General Levy was. They were the first 3 people to like get signed to Justice.
Wicked.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think his whole intention was to build a hip-hop connected family. And obviously reggae was a lot of the influences that was
more so in the UK than it was in America.
So when he signed Levy did a lot of shows at hip-hop gigs.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he had that fast style of rap, it really fitted into the genre of hip-hop as well. So, you know what I mean? Between the 3 of them, Trouble, Levy and London Posse, Westwood knew he could make a, you know what I mean, a good label. Yeah.
So, I mean, moving on from that bit, you obviously sort of like was on a few other tracks as well with other artists that, well, contemporaries at the time, I suppose, like MC Mello and stuff like that.
Yeah.
How did you get involved with those? Was it just something that seemed to be happening at the time? You know what I mean? Because you were making such a name for yourself as a DJ, people were asking you to go on their tracks.
a lot of those things. My connection to Mello was obviously through Pogo being Mello's DJ.
Yeah.
But with things like Cookie Crew, Caveman, you know what I mean, and a lot of the other groups that I worked with was because of, like you said, being where I was in the position I was, doing Westwood, being able to play a lot of gigs, being a DJ for London Posse at that time, you know what I mean, I was becoming very well known, you know what I mean, for what I did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, and being that I worked with the guys I worked with, I learned very quickly. So it really propelled me, you know what I mean, to the higher ranks. Yeah. You know what I mean, of the DJ circles that by myself I may not have even hit them ranks at, you know, when I did. But just being where I was, with who I was, it propelled me really quickly. Because
you obviously then became involved with like DMC as well.
Yeah.
And I remember years and years ago, like a picture of you, I think in Hip Hop Connection at the New Music Seminar in New York.
Oh yeah.
Big high top, going like that.
Yeah. I think New Music Seminar for me was all about, that was Pogo and Swift. They're the ones, I didn't know nothing about that contest. Right. They're the ones who said to me, look, there's a big contest in America, you know what I mean? They have New Music Seminar, they have DJs there, they go and they battle, you know? And there's big prizes for the winners. There's never any representation from Europe. We want to be the first guys to go there and represent. So we was like, all right. I was like, okay, let's do it. So all of us saved up our money, you know what I mean, in 1988, and we went there, me, Pogo, Swift, and we had a whole crew of people that came with us. Right. You know what I mean? A guy called Horace, a guy called Arsenal Andy. You know what I mean? We had like Cookie Crew came that year. There must have been about, from the UK, there must have been at least 15 of us.
Really? Wow.
15 of us, like, just went over there.
And no cheap flights in 88, mate.
Yeah, that's it. Listen, you know what I mean? Because we was planning it for so long, we all saved our money, we was in a Marriott hotel, you know what I mean? We met so many people, man. Mr. C, you know what I mean? Queen Latifah, De La Soul, you know what I mean? Lord Finesse. All these people were having, their records were just coming out.
Yeah, because they were quite new as well.
Yeah, Ultramagnetics. All of these people came to New Music Seminar, right, to promote their album. Yeah. Of Big Daddy Kane, of Lord Finesse, because they were coming there to give out their records to DJs.
Oh, mate.
Brilliant.
You know what I mean? And so we were like, they had promotional copies of all their records. They were just like, yeah, people were just giving out records because they just wanted every DJ to have.
And what did they make of the UK sort of like contingent going on?
They were just shocked. They were just like, because even MC Duke was with us.
I bet half of them didn't even know there was stuff going on in the UK.
No, they didn't. Half of them didn't even know. They were just like, what, you people from the UK? Yeah. They were just like, wow, how did you get here? You know what I mean? They thought we swam there or something. You know what I mean? It was ridiculous. People couldn't believe it. Because we had like, there was like 15 of us. They were like, wow. And when people was like, yeah, blah, blah from UK, and they were like, we were just cheering. They just could not believe. Right. You know what I mean? So they were really, really shocked and surprised.
And how did you get on up against?
I think Swift got to the semi-final. Pogo was in the quarterfinals that year.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it was like was hard going. You know what I mean?
I'm sure.
It was
I mean,
hard because them DJs didn't play, but they were like,
there was some decent DJs in 1988 in the States.
88 was only Swifty and Pogo in 88. You know what I mean? And obviously 89 when we went back, it was me, Swift and Pogo all went in, you know what I mean?
In 89 Swift won DMC as well, didn't he?
Swift won DMC in 89, you know what I mean? So, and for us, we was a big influence on the American DJ scene, a very, very, very big influence. Because I mean, a lot of people don't know. I mean, what they call beat juggling, Swift was doing what they call beat juggling now. Swift was doing that in 88. You know what I mean? Right. Swift called it copycat. He didn't call it beat juggling.
Right.
And he did it in the seminar. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If anyone sees them tapes or hears the audio tapes from those days, you see Swift doing beat juggling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So as much as people say, "Oh, Steve D was the creator of beat juggling," you know what I mean? For people like me and Pogo, we're like, well, you might have seen Steve D do it first, but we saw Swift do it first.
Yeah, that's right.
So as far as we're concerned, he created beat juggling, but he didn't call it beat juggling.
Yeah.
You know, he called it copycat. That's just what he called it. You know, he did it in 88, he did it in 89. No one was doing it when he done it.
Yeah, and
Steve D wasn't even in seminar those days.
No, he wouldn't even known Steve D. He
didn't know
in his
Steve
bedroom in Harlem, wasn't he?
And we've got it on videotape, video evidence. You know what I mean? And we even said
you came over here with an empty bag.
We even said to Steve D, you know what I mean? Because we were having a little dispute about it, and we was like, we're not discrediting you, that you are what they call the creator of beat juggling. Yeah, but
in the States.
But for us, we have to also credit Swifty.
Right.
You know, because we have video evidence to prove that Swift was doing what you would call beat juggling, what we would call beat juggling in 88 and 89. So as far as we're concerned, he's up there with you. Yeah. So we're not taking your credit away from you, because he thought we were trying to say, Swift's the creator and we're taking the credit away from you. We're like, nah. But we have to put him on the same pedestal as you. Yeah. You're not alone on that pedestal. You're up there with Swift as far as we're concerned.
Yeah.
And we have video evidence to prove it. You have video evidence to prove it, because Clarke Kent videoed the seminar.
Right.
You know? And we even said to them, how do we know, that Clarke Kent didn't give the videos to you? Because you were in the Superman crew, which was Clark's DJ crew.
Yeah.
Yeah? Plastic Man and Richie Rich and all of you was in that crew. Yeah? We never saw Richie Rich doing anything like that. He was in the seminar that same year as us in 89.
Yeah.
We didn't see him doing that. Scratch was in that crew. I've never seen Scratch do any of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We went to they were so impressed by us that year. They took me, Pogo, and Swift to Clarke Kent's house.
Really?
With Richie Rich. Yeah. With all the members of the Superman crew was there. Steve D wasn't there.
Right.
Because I don't know whether he was in the crew at that time or after that time.
Yeah.
But
he'd gone out to practice his beat juggling.
Scratch and all them guys was there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And obviously us being in awe, we were like, wow, we're at Clarke Kent's house.
Yeah.
For us it was like everything, the pinnacle for us. We're at DJ Clarke Kent's house.
Yeah.
With Richie Rich, with DJ Scratch, people that who
were massive at the time.
The people that we idolised.
Yeah, that's right.
So when Clarke was like, yeah man, you don't want to go on the tables, we showed them everything. We didn't hold back. Clarke videoed everything. So for us, we're not saying he did, but what we always say to them is, how do we know that you didn't?
Yeah. So somewhere there's a bloody wicked video of you at Clarke Kent's house.
How do you know that you didn't?
And he didn't give you copies of that?
No, we didn't have a copy of that.
Jeez, imagine.
So Swift was doing all of those things, because me and Pogo never used to do copycat those times. Yeah. We learned that afterwards.
Sure.
You know what I mean? That's when Swift was had just pioneered it, you know what I mean? And was really like getting into it. He was the first one to do that, you know what I mean? And needle dropping. No one did needle dropping before Swift did it in 88. You know? Yes, Grand Wizard Theodore and all them used to needle drop when they used to think, but not in the contest.
That was only because they had to.
Because they had
only had one turntable or something like that.
But Swift was the first to do that needle dropping in an actual contest.
Right.
He did it in 88, and then Aladdin done it as well. You know what I mean? In 89. But that was after Swifty done it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because Swifty done it with the LL Cool J.
Right, that's right.
In 88, the
That's
and
right, yeah.
Back, you know what I mean? And he was going, no, rapper can rap, no, rapper can rap, no, rapper can rap.
Yeah.
No, rapper can rap, no, Swift did it first.
Shit.
So no matter what no one says, you know what I mean? We don't, because in England, we don't have this culture of you name something and then it's your stamps on it.
There's
and
also,
Americans have that.
They've also got that braggadoo
Yeah,
sort of like
that
style.
braggadocious way of...
Exactly.
So,
we don't.
we don't really have that, you know what I mean? So for Swift, you know what I mean, he didn't stamp his stamp, as they would say, on a lot of things, and we missed out on a lot of credit on things.
Probably also, I suppose, because obviously the MCs probably weren't getting the same sort of recognition as possibly the DJs were at the time as well.
No, they weren't.
So the Americans maybe still weren't taking it so seriously.
So for me, you know, that's why I always give the maximum credit, you know, to Swift and to Pogo, because they pioneered a lot of things that DJs are doing.
Especially when Swift ended up on Wogan.
Right.
I remember that. Cutting up Casanova Rudd. Anyway, but then you became quite involved in DMC yourself in regards to actually sort of like getting on stage as well and stuff like that. I mean,
after being in the contest for a few years, you know what I mean, I was like, I've never been really that competitive type of individual. And because my crew members were, you know what I mean, in the early days, me, Pogo and Swift were like, we were a crew, but we weren't a crew by name. Yeah. But because we did everything together, we hung together, we were a crew by family association, as we saw it. And because they were very competitive, you know, that's what drew me to DMC, because they was like, let's do these competitions. So I was doing them, firstly seminar, then DMC, because of those guys. Because I wasn't really grossly a competitive type of guy, you know what I mean? I'm always the type of sit back in the background and let my friends take the, you know, take the glory. Because, you know, if they get the glory, I get the glory as well. I've never been someone to be at the front. So because of them, I really had a few years of doing my DMC, then I was like, nah, I'm not really, you know, that type of competitive DJ. I'll leave that to them guys. Let them, you know what I mean, do all the UK champs. So I did it 2 years, and I was like, no, I didn't really want to do it. But DMC really sort of, they really liked me as a person. Yeah. Because a lot of the times when they were doing the contest, they may have needed help with setting up turntables and other type. Because me, Swift and Pogo are skilled at those type of things, and me not being in a contest and them maybe being in a contest, they'd ask me to help them. So I helped them out with a lot of those type of things. And through that association, they were like, oh, you know what I mean, you should be part of the DMC family. So that's how I sort of got involved with DMC. And then when Swift won it, and then afterwards he didn't want to continue doing it, he became the host of it. That's right. Right. And then through me being part of the DMC family, through helping them, because obviously helping them set up the equipment, they were like, oh, why don't you host it with Swifty? I was like, okay. One day I said, all right, I'll try it. And then
for someone who's so laid back, you were pretty bloody good on the mic. We had
such a rapport. You know, sometimes you don't know you're good at something until you actually do it. Yeah. I never thought I'd be a good host. I just thought, you know, I'll give it a go because they asked me. When I did it, it was like, automatically, the audience just gave me this energy, this vibe that made me just feel like, oh, this is where I should be. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it just felt like a home from home being on stage.
Yeah, I saw you many times.
You know what I mean? And I just sort of took to it, and I just felt that, right, this is my home. This is what I should be doing. Yeah. So that's how I ended up becoming a host, and it just felt like the natural progression for me to be that, you know, in that position, opposed to being actually a DJ in the contest.
Yeah. So, I mean, are you still hosting any of the
I haven't. I mean, I didn't. Well, this year I helped them out, but I was judging and stuff. But I'm gonna help them host the world final this year. They asked me to help do it. I didn't do it last year, the year before, because I've been hosting alongside a guy called Inja, one of new school. You know. Yeah, that's. I mean, for me, everything has its time. You know, you do your time, you have to move on. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I did my time with Swift. Then it was me by myself. Then they brought in Inja, who's a new school guy, very good MC, you know what I mean? Has a really good rapport with audiences. So it was me and Inja for about 4 or 5 years. Then I was like, you know what, I want to give this thing a break. That's when I really started getting into the DJing for the dance contest. Sure. So I sort of wanted to like concentrate on that more. So I did that for a couple of years, and then I was just like, nah, Inja, you do. So the past 2 years, Inja's been doing it, but this year they're like, nah, they want me to come back.
Sure.
Because they've formatted it very differently.
Right.
So it will be better off with 2 hosts than 1. So
okay.
they're like, you know, look, we really want you to come and help us out with this. I said, no problem, man. You know what I mean? It'd be...
So coinciding with that, have you always been sort of like involved in the sort of like the b-boy battles worldwide and stuff in regards to DJing, or is this something that you're sort of just getting back into? Or
yeah, I mean, I was always involved in the dance side, because I would always go, because being an ex-dancer, I always sort of kept that side of it up. You know what I mean? Even once in a blue moon, when the music takes me, I go off, I'll just get down on the floor. So I was always interested, you know what I mean, in the dance side, and I always kept abreast of who was in the contest, who would win the contest and the battles. And then about when the resurgence came about, like the hip-hop resurgence, like in about 99, 2000, is when things started to come back. A lot of dance contests, a lot of shows, a lot of... So then when it came back, people started to ask me to DJ, you know what I mean, for some certain events. That's when I sort of got back into it and just like, yeah, you know what? And at that time, I sort of also got into hip-hop theatre.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I was working with a guy called Robert Hilton, John Z D, Benji Reed, who are like the pioneers of hip-hop theatre.
John Z D, yeah.
Yeah, they're like the pioneers. Them 3 are the pioneers of hip-hop theatre in this country.
Right.
So I've worked alongside all of them, you know what I mean? Helping to create shows, DJing live at shows.
Right.
You know what I mean? So the theatrical side was almost like, you know, the next progression for me.
Yeah.
Where it came from, the contests, live shows, as you know, with MCs and DJs. The next progression for me was theatre, so that was the next stage.
Is there still sort of productions that you're working on? Or?
Yeah, because obviously Johnsy now, well, for the past 10 years now, he's had an event called the Breakin Convention, which they hold at Sadler's Wells, and it's like maybe the biggest hip-hop theatre convention in the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he has groups from all over the world that have an association with hip-hop. Most of them are hip-hop dancers that have got into theatre.
Sure.
So they all have an association by, they'll be b-boying, they'll be popping, they'll be locking, you know what I mean? They'll do some type of hip-hop dance, and they might integrate it with things like maybe jazz, maybe ballet, maybe contemporary. So you have a real mix, but they're all influenced by hip-hop. You know what I mean? That was the premise of them being part of that actual, you know, convention, because that's why it's called Breakin Convention, because it's breaking the stereotypical convention of what theatre is.
Yeah.
You know, so he's like, no, we want it to be hip-hop theatre. We were bringing hip-hop to the stage.
It's amazing, isn't it? Sorry, Brett. I mean, it's amazing how, you know, something that started in '82, it's now almost turned into jazz. You know what I mean? It's grown and it's matured and branched out in so many different ways. In the UK especially, you know what I mean? Obviously, because that's what we're mainly talking about. But I suppose worldwide it's been
influenced
been like that.
so many different things.
Yeah,
as well, you know
totally,
I mean?
I mean,
amazing.
Before we sign off, going back to sort of like your battling days, who were some of the rivals, if you like?
I mean,
because I know that there's stories between Hijack and Supreme and.
I mean, Hijack, Supreme, Undercover were always 2 of the biggest rivals. You know what I mean? To Pogo, Cosmic Jam, and Swifty.
Yeah.
These guys really didn't like each other. You know,
really,
really didn't like each other. There was always that thing of who was the better DJs, you know what I mean? But when it came down to the turntables, for us, we knew that they were always, at that time, #1 when it came to scratching.
But in regards to beat juggling and rocking the crowd,
beat juggling and rocking the crowd, Pogo, Swift, and Cosmic topped them every time.
Right.
And they have had battles which have incorporated scratching and the juggling side. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I must say that Undercover and Supreme have never been on top. It's always been Pogo or Swifty.
I had to ask.
Or things. They've always
had
come
to
on
ask.
top. But when it comes down to the enforcers, me, Pogo, and Swifty, our biggest rivalry was most probably the Scratch Perverts.
Yeah. Shit, that's one thing we didn't. So let's talk about that.
That was like the biggest rivalry in UK hip-hop.
Was it a friendly rivalry or was it not? I mean,
no, the thing was, it was a friendly rivalry.
Right, okay.
It did get to a point where it became like so intense that it split the whole hip-hop scene down the middle.
Right.
It really did.
Because I remember I was so excited when you guys got together. I mean, I'd seen the Scratch Perverts live, I'd seen them individually doing their heats and stuff like that, and I really liked them. But knowing that you guys were going to get back together and do something,
I mean, for us, it was the way
so
it was the way people were talking about the Scratch Perverts, and we knew the Scratch Perverts. We knew them very well. You know what I mean?
Well, they were involved with DMC, I guess.
Prime Cuts used to come and practice with us. You know what I mean? You know, there was one point where Prime Cuts was going to become a member of our crew. It just didn't happen, you know, the way it did have. We were that close with Prime Cuts. He was one of, you know what I mean? Joe was one of our favourite DJs, you know what I mean? But it was just the way things were in those days, you know. People were talking about them and talking about them. And obviously, us being of an older generation, we was not really thinking of coming back, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We were just doing our thing. But the way people were talking about they're the greatest thing since sliced bread, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, they just bypassed us. And when people started to compare, oh, what would happen if them and us, nah, man, these guys would kill, you know what I mean? That got our goat.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That was just like, to us, we were like, you know what? We can't allow people to talk like that about us.
Yeah.
We have to show people, you know what I mean, win, lose, or draw, that we can still hold our own.
And you did.
Because for us, we didn't mind if we'd lost to the Scratch Perverts, because at the end of the day, the better DJ's a better DJ. We respected that. But we were like, we're going to come out all guns blazing, because Pogo was just like, we're not going to lose. There is nothing in this world that is going to make us lose. When we went into that battle with them, we just knew. We were so confident. And we knew how good they were. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, we were not overlooking them.
Because their new style at the time of DJing was pretty revolutionary.
They changed, you know what I mean? A lot of the way DJs look at DJing.
Yeah.
They innovated a lot of new skills, you know what I mean? That DJs, you know, use today. So we give them their total respect, you know what I mean? We knew that it wasn't a joke to try and battle them, you know what I mean? But we were like, if we're going to do it, we can't lose. We cannot lose. Because if we lost, we would never live it down. We knew that if we lost, that we might as well say that would have been the end for us.
Yeah.
That's why we knew we couldn't lose.
Right.
Because for us, we're like, if we lose, finished. We can't show our faces nowhere. That is why for us we were like, we're not gonna lose simply because we can't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I give all credit to the Scratch Perverts, because they're the ones who stoked the flame to make us come back. You know what I mean? And show the whole hip hop scene that we still had something to contribute.
Tell us a little bit about the night and the battle itself. How did you feel? Come on.
For us, we were just so confident. You know what I mean? We were so confident. We were scared because it was a make or break situation, but we were so confident. And the thing was, when we looked at the Scratch Perverts, you know what I mean? There was something about them. We were just like, nah, man, they're scared, man. There's something about them. Because whenever we saw them DJ, they were so supremely confident.
Yeah.
They were just like, whenever they were up against anyone, we were just like, right, these guys, they can't lose. You could just look at them and see they're not going to lose.
Yeah.
They are no joke. But that night, when we went to the club, we were just like, Pogo was just like, they're scared, Bills. They're scared. They know they can't beat us. They know they can't beat us. And that made us even more confident. You know what I mean? When we looked at them, we were just like, wow, we're going to beat them. And the crowd, it was crazy, because the crowd was just split 50-50.
Right.
In the Enforcers people and the Scratch Perverts people. And you've never seen the hip-hop community split like that. I've never seen any event split the hip-hop community down the middle like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why I was like, wow, this is something that, you know what I mean, a make or break. And it was like, it wasn't just for us. It was like, if we lost, all those people that supported us, that side of hip hop, it was like that side of hip hop would be dead. Yeah. But we knew if we won, Scratch Perverts could always come back.
Yeah.
They could always come back. And they did. They proved themselves by coming back and winning the world title.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And making a whole new name for themselves, you know what I mean? So they proved that. But for us, if we'd lost, there was no comeback.
So, I mean, because the Enforcers didn't last that long as a... I mean,
no, because we only came back because of that.
Right, so it really was just a...
You know what I mean? We wasn't planning on, you know what I mean, DJing as a team. You know what I mean? As far as we were concerned, we had made our contributions to the hip-hop scene, you know what I mean? And we just wanted to be part of it, you know what I mean? Be involved in DMC. Me and Swift still contribute by being the host or whatever. But that 1 year, because of what happened, me and Swift had to take ourselves out of that. No hosting, no involvement with DMC.
Just practice.
Because we have to do this one thing. You know what I mean?
Oh, mate. Films could be made about that.
Yeah, seriously. For me, that is one of the single most important moments in the history of DJ hip-hop, you know what I mean, culture.
Yeah.
In the UK, because that was a make or break situation. If we had lost that battle
at the height of when DJing was absolutely massive,
yeah, DJing was everything at that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For me, the whole scene would be different now if we lost that battle. But we didn't lose.
You'd still be on.
Yeah, we didn't lose. You know.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And the Perverts have made their name. They made their you know, they had their greatness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As far as I can say, they're some of the greatest DJs I admire.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? They changed the game.
Yeah.
They innovated some techniques that for me was amazing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I love them guys to death, man. All of them. And I mean, I give them their maximum respect.
Yeah. Mate, I'm blown away by this interview. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for coming on. We're probably going to have to stretch your interview over about 2 or 3 shows.
No,
don't mind.
Going up to the first 1 hour show, mate.
It's going to be the first 1 hour show because it's well worth it. But honestly, Billy BIZNIZZ, this is your life. No, this is yeah. No, thanks so much. Cheers for coming in, mate. That's great.
Brilliant.
Yeah, well, that was an amazing interview, as you can see. But I think now what we wanted to do is actually sort of like talk to BIZNIZZ about a couple of the breaks that used to sort of like influence him a lot at the time, and this is one of them, right?
Most definitely, because before being a DJ, I was a b-boy, and this was one of the most prominent breaks that we would get down to, you know. So even when I became a DJ, I used to cut this up all the time because it was just one of my favourite pieces of music, you know what I mean?
I mean, there's just something about it. I mean, it's everything, isn't it? There's the beat, there's the haunting sort of like riff that goes through it. It's relentless. It's
everything about this just says hip hop to me, man. This track here, one of my all-time greats, man. I love it.
Yeah, wicked. So this is ESG UFO. I think it was released in this country on Factory Records, but Brad will put the information up. This actually is the version on the Armour Breaks and Beats album, so I didn't have to sort of like mess around and try and find the other copy. But Armour Breaks and Beats were a valuable tool for many a young aspiring DJ back in the 80s. I know I bought them all. Don't know whether this man, he probably had all the originals at the time, but
with us back in the day, originals. But remember, back in the day, we used to strip off the labels.
Yeah,
which was a mistake without realising it was.
Yeah, especially when you wanted to sell them afterwards.
That's right. But you know, you didn't want no other DJ to see your music then.
That's it. Yeah, so it goes back to the sound system days. You didn't want anybody to see what that was.
It was great then, but now I could have sold that for a mint, and I've lost that. But
well, me and Brad are going to go around and sort of like take any bits that you don't want. Is that all right?
Yeah,
cool. Lovely. Right. Anyway, so next up we're going to Mr. Bob James, the Mardi Gras Bells. It's not often that we get a chance to play such big breaks in regards to sort of like famous ones and stuff like that, but it's actually really quite refreshing because I think sometimes we try and play stuff that no one's heard and everything's so obscure and stuff like that, but you know, let's go back to the source. Probably one of the best breaks ever. Tight drums,
for a reason, man.
Exactly, yeah. And this is one of your favourites.
One of my favourites. Anyone from the first generation of hip hop, this is a ultimate classic.
And what year would that be?
I don't even know. Now, first generation of hip hop in this country, end of 81, beginning of 82.
So there you go. So that's the same time that Grandmaster Flash was cutting it up in his kitchen in the film Wild Style. So let's not say that Old School is just for New York. It's in London too. So
classic,
there you go.
Man. Wild Style's a classic.
Yeah, that's right.
If you ain't got Wild Style, go and get it.
That's right. So BIZNIZZ was doing the same as Flash in the same year. That's nice.
Man. Just that my kitchen's bigger than Flash's and nicer than Flash's.
All right. And you haven't got a head nod in Fab Five Freddy in the corner. You know what I mean?
There you go.
Wicked. Yeah, it's a nice wispy tune. It actually does go into another break, doesn't it? So let's see if we can flick it on. Yeah, this is actually a cover of Paul Simon from Simon and Garfunkel. Obviously this is Imminently Better, and made in 1974, CTI Records, chopped up by B-boys everywhere.
See, listen to that. Now, are you going to get music like that anywhere else? You're not.
No, sir.
CTI Records. Lovely. Love it.
Yeah. So, we're going to go to our last break of the week.
But not least.
Not least. But yeah, now we're going to go to the Commodores. My favourite break, and by the sounds of it, it's one of BIZNIZZ's as well. So here we go. Yeah, the Commodores. No, they weren't just easy like Sunday morning or 3 Times a Lady. They were funky back in the day. So their late 60s stuff was pucker, but this was my favourite break, and one of yours as well.
Definitely, man. I chose this one because it's one of the breaks I used to hear Pogo cut up continuously, and it was one of the breaks that would get you immediately on the floor if you was a b-boy. So,
and you wouldn't. Well,
I loved it, man. This
best break going, I reckon.
We still don't know what he was saying before that, you know what I mean? We always try to wonder. We used to sing Video Man. You're on the line. You know what I mean? Video Man we used to sing. We didn't know what the hell he was saying. So that's what we named the break, Video Man.
I wonder what you meant earlier when you said
Yeah. If you look at my original copy, because I've stripped the label off, you see on mine it's written Video Man.
Oh, right.
Because that's what we used to call it. That's what we used to think we used to say.
Well, there you go. Another little piece of history there. You know what I mean? The Yanks used to call it the Hut break. Because it sounds like hut. And now we've got Video Man as well.
Crazy.
Only Lionel Richie knows. Maybe we can get him into the shed. Or his daughter. Anyway.
Yeah, it's true.
So, thank you for watching.
Yeah, thank you for watching.
Thank you for coming in.
Yeah,
Legends.
it's a pleasure.
Going down in history.
I know it was a bit of a long interview, but I'm sure you.
No. It needed to be a long interview because there just needed to be too much said. It was fantastic, absolutely great. Anyway, cheers.
Thank you very much. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure you stay in tune to the shed each and every week, every month, and every year, because this is where it happens.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah.
Take my advice.
Cheers.
Goodbye.
Oh, mate, I don't think anybody's ever said that about the shed before. But,